Welcome back, guys, to Horror Room Movie Reviews. And today we have Friday the 13th, Part 2. This one was pretty good, I thought. One of the better early Jason movies. And he doesn't have the hockey mask, he's got the sheet, but it's still a pretty good movie in its own right, I thought. And it came out in 1981. Budget was like $1 million, and it still made $21 million back. So definitely a success, especially for 1981. You start the movie off, they have Alice from the first Friday the 13th. She's having flashbacks about the first movie, fighting with Jason's mother, how she cut her head off. The cop tells her they didn't find any boy, and then she wakes up. So she gets a phone call, and no one's on the line. And then she opens her refrigerator. Well, actually, before she opens the refrigerator, a cat gets...
Yeah, a cat... obviously, the cat was supposed to jump in on its own, but I don't... For some reason, the cat just wouldn't do it, I guess, because this cat was obviously tossed through this window.
Obviously. I watched it back because you pointed it out to me, and I was like, okay, I gotta see this. And yeah, someone threw this poor cat through the window.
He's okay, but...
Yeah, it's like there's an open window, and she hears a noise, and she goes to investigate, and then a cat jumps through.
Yeah.
But it was just tossed.
He was just tossed. Cat was no jumping that day. Oh, he did it, though.
So Alice opens the refrigerator, and she finds Jason's mom's head in there, and then someone stabs her in the head with a ice pick. Obviously, it's Jason. So that's how they start the Part 2 movie. And we were just, after seeing this movie, we just had a few questions. Like, is Jason dead? Is he supposed to be dead, or is he supposed to be alive? Like, what exactly is the story here? Because just going by Part 1 and Part 2, since it's been years for both of us since we've seen them, I can't really remember the entire storyline that happens later. But at the end of the first one, he jumps out of the water and he's a child. So I can say, alright, maybe that's her imagination. She's imagining Jason as a boy and she's hallucinating from the trauma. But now, it's only been 5 years later, he's a full-grown man. And if Jason didn't drown, then how come his mother was out for revenge? And if he did die, then how is he walking around? So either way, it doesn't really make any sense. So...
I'm going to say he did die, he did drown, but he got revived, maybe by his mother. And that still made her mad that they just let him drown.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I'm going to say that he died and supernaturally was brought back, which explains his powers later on.
Which would explain everything.
Yeah, so I have to say I think he was dead and brought back every Friday the 13th like a werewolf or something. He comes and kills people. But we see some kids arrive in a truck. An old guy, Crazy Ralph from the first movie, he shows up saying he warned them, but they didn't listen.
Now, he could have said so much more to these kids, but he decided not to. He decided to be crazy, like everyone thinks he is, and just say, I warned the last ones, you're doomed, and he leaves again. It's like, dude, this just happened 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Tell these kids 8 other people died, some murderer.
Well, I think in his crazy mind, just saying you're doomed is enough, and that if they didn't listen, he's like, I told him. I tried to tell him.
And he did, in his own crazy-ass way.
So, the truck they're driving gets towed, and they chase after it, but they find out it was a prank by one of their friends, a fellow counselor for the camp. This guy, the prankster, the shorts he is wearing, oh my god, they are so high up on his body, it would blow the mind. It's insane. The only thing I wrote here was the shorts this guy is wearing, damn.
Damn.
That's all I wrote.
You can't put it any better than that, just once you see it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they find an old Crystal Lake sign, and the friend, the prankster, he's about to tell him. He says it's Camp Blood, but he doesn't tell him the backstory or anything. They don't really know about Jason. Throughout all of this, we see Jason kind of spying on them through the woods and stalking people.
Like a boy.
Yeah. So they get to camp, and we see all these other kids. The head counselor tells them about the camp. We meet the cast of victims. Later that night, the head counselor tells them the story of Jason, how he was never found, and the locals say he's still out there. He says the girl who did survive disappeared 2 months later, and Jason saw his mother's head get cut off, and that's why he wants revenge. The prank guy jumps out, and he's got a Halloween mask and a spear, and he's trying to scare people. And
like, ooh, booga,
so the campers, they all go and hang out. They're doing the typical 80s party thing. They're dancing. And
with short shorts.
very, very short shorts.
Oh my god, yeah, cut off even shorter.
One girl leaves to go to bed. The head counselor goes to meet her, and we see Crazy Ralph from town is watching them now. Crazy Ralph actually gets killed here, which I thought was kind of sad. He gets strangled by Jason. Jason's hanging in the trees like Rambo. He jumps down, he pulls a cord over his neck, and just kills Crazy Ralph.
It's like, he's the only one that can spy on these kids. This is his lake. Not his lake. This is his lake, damn it.
One of the campers has a pet dog, and it goes missing off in the woods. So then we see 2 other kids from camp. They want to go see Camp Blood. The guy's girlfriend's like, oh, I want to go see it. I have to see it. And they go out into the woods. They're searching around Camp Blood, or the old Camp Crystal Lake, and they find what they think is a dead dog. They run into the cops. The cops bring him back to camp, and he tries to punish them, and it's ridiculous. But as the cop is leaving, he sees a man running in the woods. So he goes off on a chase, chasing after this guy. And like you said, he never calls for backup. He doesn't try to do anything, yell to the guy. He just chases him and finds this old shack.
He, like you said, like shanty town.
Yeah, Jason lives like a squatter.
Dude.
I don't even know where he got the equipment to build the shack. It's just like a bunch of metal just stuck together.
So I would like to say he's probably been here for a while, obviously. If he saw his mom die, but so he's obviously been living on his own for a while, 5 years.
Yeah, but I mean, he still has like the equipment. Like, where did he go and like steal all this stuff? But the cop sees something in the back room of the shack. It doesn't show us what it was. He just freaks out about it, and then Jason hits him in the back of the head with a hammer, killing him. So back at camp, we see the counselors. They're going to go to town to have a party. A few stay behind to watch the camp. The guys who were brought back by the cops, they're forced to stay. One of the guys who was forced to stay, they leave in his truck, which I thought was ridiculous because they take his car and then force him to stay behind at camp while they go party. But one girl, she goes skinny dipping. The other 2 go off to have sex. There's a guy in a wheelchair who's playing games, this like primitive Game Boy type thing.
Thing's huge.
Yeah, he's playing with another girl, and someone, we don't know who it is, takes the girl who's skinny dipping her clothes. And she chases after him, and we find out it was just another camper counselor, and he gets caught in a rope, and he gets strung up. He's upside down, so she goes back to get a knife to cut him down, and of course Jason comes and cuts his throat while she's away. That's another thing about this movie. Jason doesn't even start killing anyone. Well, besides Crazy Ralph and Alice in the very beginning. He doesn't really start killing anyone until the last 30 minutes of this movie. The majority of it is just the campers running around acting stupid.
Yeah, with short shorts.
With short shorts. And that brings me to another point. Why are there never any kids? There's never any kids camping. I guess it's supposed to be like just before the start of the summer and the campers actually show up. So it's just the counselors preparing. So I can understand that. But then I have to wonder, what type of parents would send their kids off to Camp Crystal Lake where there's been numerous murders and it's just a horrible, horrible place. It's cursed, basically.
Well, I kind of see it as like it's just a bad smudge on Camp Crystal Lake what happened about 5 years ago, but it's about to go worse. Like right now it's just like a tarnish of what it, but now it's really about to hit the fan after this.
Yeah, after this it's like barricade that place off.
Yeah.
So the other counselors, they're at the bar, they're talking about how Jason doesn't exist, and the girl, she thinks that he could be real and explains why his motives for revenge could be that he's a child trapped in a man's body. He didn't understand death until he saw his mother get killed, get her head cut off.
She's trying to be a psychiatrist. She's in school for psychiatry. Is trying to doctor Jason right now.
Yeah. It starts pouring down rain, heavy rain, like the first movie. The girl and the guy in the wheelchair, they decide they're going to have sex, I guess. And she goes to get ready, but when she doesn't come back...
Wait. We should be mentioning that, like, there's this vague little sexual tension in the beginning, and, like, they're getting... their words they use, she's trying to hint at sex.
Yeah.
And she just straight up, she just asks him, is like, are you okay to, like, do anything downstairs? And what does he say?
He says, I do alright.
I do alright.
Don't know what that means.
That was not answering the question.
No.
But he's like, I do alright. He's like, okay. Toys.
I guess. So the guy in the wheelchair goes outside to find, well, I guess he can't really go look for her, but he goes outside and he starts screaming her name because she's been gone for a while, and he gets hit in the face with a machete, and then he just kind of rolls backwards and falls down the stairs.
All backwards.
Yeah,
This was good.
Yeah, this was awesome.
He's like, ooh, he's like slinging down the stairs.
So the other two counselors that are upstairs having sex, Jason comes in the house. He's sneaking up there. He grabs the Halloween mask and the spear, and he stabs them during the act of having sex, essentially killing both of them in one blow. This reminded me very much of the first movie with Kevin Bacon dying. The guy he kills kind of looked like Kevin Bacon, and instead of a spear, they used an arrow, but it was kind of the same scene to me, I thought. But it was still fine. So they cut back to the bar, and we see the other counselors, and the head counselor and his girlfriend are heading back, but the prankster guy and all the other campers decide to stay. They actually survive because they decided to stay and keep partying and not go back to camp. All the people who went survived except for the head guy and the other girl. They decided to go back. So the other girl who wanted to have sex with the wheelchair guy, she comes back and she goes up the stairs and she's looking for him. She's calling everybody's name, and she gets to the room where the other kids were having sex, and she pulls the covers off, and Jason sits up. He's got the sheet wrapped around his head with one eye hole cut out. And he slashes her leg with a butcher knife. She backs into the wall. She sees the other guy hung up with blood all over him. And then Jason just goes after her with a butcher knife. So very Michael Myers-ish.
Yeah, that seemed very Michael Myers.
The other two arrive, the head counselor and his girlfriend, and they find the bed covered in blood. And they can't find any of the kids. Jason tries to attack the head counselor, but the girl warns him, and they start brawling around. She just stands there the entire time during this, like, just watching. And then Jason just stands up, like, who did you think was going to win that fight? And Jason starts chasing after her. She grabs a knife, and he busts through the door with a pitchfork. She opens the pantry, and guess who was back in the pantry?
Dude, I loved it.
It's Crazy Ralph.
Crazy Ralph. Dead. But he's back in the pantry. I love that. Just to give the girls, campers, counselors, however, just one last scare, even after death. Genius.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Dude, that's such a good part.
We just started laughing at that. So she climbs out the window. She tries to get in a car, but it won't start. Jason gets on top of the car. He's stabbing the pitchfork through the roof. She runs from him, and as he's chasing her, she turns and kicks him in the balls. Jason actually sells this as it did some significant damage to him.
Yeah.
Which, to me, means he has not got his powers yet. As we all know, later on, Jason is basically an indestructible force. Nothing can hurt Jason. He just keeps on coming.
Slowly through this film, since this is his first film, like, this is all new to him, like killing people. So he has to take it slow. He's gonna be able to get kicked in the balls, but he's gonna get stronger from it.
Yeah. So she kicks him in the balls, and she hides, and Jason goes the other way. This goes on for quite a while. They show them running, and they show Jason chasing her, and then they show the moon, and then they show them running, and Jason chasing her, and then they show the moon, and then they're running some more, and it's like a Scooby-Doo cartoon where they're running through the house and they're running through all the doors, and then the monster's chasing them, and then they're chasing the monster, and it's just ridiculous. Like, this part really was kind of bad in my opinion. But finally we see Jason. He's in a cabin looking for her, and she's hiding under the bed. She crawls out because she thinks Jason left, and he's standing on a chair, and the chair just collapses under his weight, and he's got the pitchfork.
He's totally ready for her to come out, and it just collapses, and he does this little comedy bit where he's like, "Fall."
Yeah, and he breaks the pitchfork, so it's useless now. And she gets a chainsaw and pushes him back, and then hits him with a chair instead of the chainsaw.
No, yeah.
So there's that. So she's running through the woods trying to find some type of help, and she finds Jason's shack. And she finds a room, the room that the cop saw earlier that made him freak out, and it's a shrine dedicated to Jason's mother. It's got candles all around it, and it's just her severed head sitting there.
Also has dead bodies around this shrine as well.
Yeah.
As an altar.
So she puts on his mother's clothes, and Jason busts in, and she acts like she is his mother. She convinces Jason. He gets down on his knees, and he's confused.
Yeah.
She tries to kill him, but he snaps out of it, and he hits her with a pickaxe in the leg. The head counselor guy shows back up. He wasn't killed. I guess he was just hurt in the fight. And he shows up, and they start fighting again. And then she hits Jason in kind of the neck area right here with the machete type weapon. And they take the sheet off his head, but they don't show his face. So the head counselor guy, because she got her leg hurt, carries her back to camp. They hear a noise. They start freaking out again, but it turns out it's the dog. The dog that went missing is still alive and safe, and the girl stands up right in front of a window, so you know what's coming here, and she's like, "Oh, it's Fluffy." And all of a sudden, Jason jumps through the window, and we see his face. He's all inbred looking, kind of like the Hills Have Eyes guys, or the Wrong Turn cannibal families. He's got hair, and one eye's really small, and his half of this looks like it's melted. Just really grotesque looking. And then we see, that's it. It just freezes on him jumping through the window. And then we see the girl getting carried away by an ambulance, and she's just screaming where Paul is, the head counselor. Where is Paul? Where is Paul? And then the last shot we see is the camera zooms onto his mother's head sitting in the shrine, and it's still there with the candles, and it just shows that, and then the credits roll. So that was the last scene. And that was it. That was Friday the 13th Part 2. I thought it was good.
This was the first Jason film. Of course it's good. I mean, there's no mask yet, but that's just, again, build-up. I like that.
I mean, if we lived in the 80s and we didn't even know where this series was going to go, and we just went and saw this, I think we would have really liked the first and second.
Would have been enjoyable.
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool. So, I guess that's it. I hope you guys like this video. We will be back next week to do Part 3.
Oh, it's going to be a special version.
Yes, this is going to be a special version. And I think that's it. Anything else?
Yeah, hope you guys liked it. It's a good film. Can't wait to come back.
Alright guys, so if you've seen this movie, leave your thoughts on Part 2 in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed, and thanks for watching.